What do you make of what we're looking at now then, as we see a settling down in some of those bond yields and a bit more normality in the equity markets?
Yeah, so thanks very much. So the thesis that we've been focused on is this idea of the restoration economy, and that language is chosen rather deliberately. So it is not a rapid reflation story that we are having in mind. It's more a case of a incremental, gradual, cyclical recovery. And of course, the restoration, the restored economy after the event might not look exactly like the macroeconomy was set prior to the COVID shock. But I think so. I think you're right. We've seen this big movement higher in bond yields in recent weeks. The way I would understand that is it's more of a case of a rational repricing of inflation by the market. And to me, that makes sense because the distribution of inflation risks have changed. And that's very much linked to the policy decisions that we're seeing coming through and are expecting to be delivered over the near term. For the market, that means that we would anticipate seeing an inflation premium in the long end of bond markets, a steeper yield curve, which is what we do see. But at this point in time, I don't see much evidence for a real overshooting or an overheating of the economy, and little evidence that we're going to see excessive amounts of inflation. So watching this very, very closely, rising bond yields can act as a meaningful challenge to credit markets, equity markets, alternative asset classes, emerging markets as well, of course, but not anticipating significant overheating or excessive amounts of inflation at this point.
Also jumping out in some of your research is that you're playing various different jurisdictions based on the vaccine rollout and policy support. And the UK has been one of the standouts in terms of getting that first vaccine into the arms of people across the country. Plus, we've got the budget coming this week in terms of what sort of strategy the government plans to roll out around the COVID recovery. What do you make of the fortunes of the various parts of Europe then?
So I think the conventional wisdom around the UK that it was difficult at the start of the crisis, but having a strong end to the crisis is probably about right. Look, the UK, as you say, is a relative winner in the rollout of the vaccine, and that's important because it enables you to ease social restrictions a lot quicker. So we look at the UK as a winner in terms of the vaccine rollout. We look at the US as a winner in terms of the stimulus, the delivery of the Biden plan. And we probably look at Asia as well as part of the world that's already run that race. So that's the way I would sort of categorize the broad relative winners. In the context of that vaccine rollout, you know, it's very clear why that's important. It enables the economy to reopen. The virus is less deadly for the broad population. And of course, it reduces pressures on health systems too. So there is this very strong connection between the vaccine rollout and the ability of authorities to ease social restrictions. And the UK is a big beneficiary of that at a point in time where maybe continental Europe has struggled a bit more. Perhaps parts of Europe haven't really taken advantage of this window of opportunity to roll out the vaccine before some of those mutated versions of the virus can gain a foothold. And parts of the global economy, which are not only dependent on the vaccine, but also struggling to roll out the vaccine program, do look more vulnerable, we would say. And in that sense, it would look as if continental Europe and then parts of emerging markets are worst affected by those trends. I think we've seen a lot of this play out already in terms of how the market is thinking and pricing. I mean, you can look at sterling versus euro and see the relative strength of the UK story versus Europe. But that's the broad trend, this idea of a very strong connection between the relative, the faster vaccinators are being the relative winners because of their ability to ease social restrictions more rapidly and then benefit more in the dramatic, fast reopening, the pent-up demand sort of stories that we can see beginning to play out in the second quarter and in the third quarter.